I'm Ken Curry, and I'm our VP of Business Development at Barcoding. I have the pleasure of introducing John in Samsung, John Gibson from Samsung, and our partnership with Samsung is a newer partnership. We've worked with Samsung Electronics for several years now, but really have started to become strategic with them as a supplier. So very excited to show you what makes them different. And you know, a good if you'd like to take a if you remember, enter in Google sometime United Rentals and Samsung, and that'll give you a good understanding of some of the projects that we've worked on together and ways that we have helped to optimize operations for you know, for you know, many of our customers, large and small. So I met John at a product management course for parolees last year. Okay, I'm just kidding. No laughs. No, John has been in the industry for about 20 years, and you know, really has a background from AIDC, point of sale, and he recently has become the Director of Business Development for Manufacturing at Samsung, which is awesome because he came from a retail and distribution background as well. Interesting thing to note about manufacturing, can anybody tell me if we manufacture more things in America today than we did in 1980? Do we manufacture more or less? I heard a less. So we more. So we manufacture about 50% more than we did in the 80s, and we do it with 1/3 the people. And that makes sense, right, for why we're all here, because you know, in the automation space, which is where where we stand, we are in the business of substituting capital for labor. So, a couple things, other things I wanted to mention. It's really interesting that Samsung has a differentiated value proposition for security. When we think about security and mobility, you know, about 20% of companies that were surveyed last year by Dimensional Research have reported breaches from mobile phones, from employee, either BYOD, bring your own device mobile phones, or corporate supplied phones, right? So 20% of companies surveyed been breached. Verizon Enterprise Solutions stated last year that on their data breach investigations report that 90% of these breaches have come from phishing attempts. 90% mobile breaches, phishing attempts. And that while only 7% of users, this was interesting too, while only 7% of users actually will fall for a phishing attempt, the ones that do are 3 times more likely to fall for another one that same year, right? Kind of interesting. And you know, on that same vein, IBM has noted that phishing, you know, when they look at phishing, they say mobile users are 3 times as likely to fall for a phishing attempt than a desktop user. And the reason being, it's probably most likely that we see a message come in from a mobile device. Well, the mobile device portfolio and the security proposition that Samsung has to talk to you guys about today is second to none. So with that, I'd like to welcome John Gibson from Samsung.
Everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Yes, we appreciate your time. Thank you, Ken, for the introduction, and definitely that's one of the areas that we're going to talk about today. One of the other things, if those of you that have been in the mobility industry a long time know very well, that we're at a critical juncture in the history of enterprise mobility, represented by this time bomb here, okay? I have been in the industry for a long time. I actually went through the last paradigm shift from DOS-based mobile computers or proprietary mobile computers to the Windows CE, Windows mobile space that we've been operating in for about the last 18 years or so. So the good news is that the world will not end. There is an opportunity going forward. There's a lot of excitement going forward, and the industry is clearly, in general, not just from a Samsung perspective, but in general, the industry is adopting Android as the next generation operating system for enterprise mobility. And there's a lot of good reasons why they're doing that. And there's a lot of reasons that we at Samsung take pride in being part of that evolution. From Android, which started as a very open system. It's still very open, but it had some security challenges early on because of the openness. With a lot of heavy work between Samsung and, yes, Google cooperation, we now have a really good enterprise-grade security system that's recognized throughout the industry. Okay? But Windows is going away, and there's a huge opportunity in the marketplace for replacement, updates, upgrades, and general IT improvements to take the whole IT infrastructure to the next level. And myself and the manufacturing group, we have a whole vertical team at Samsung that's dedicated to different verticals. I happen to lead one of them for the manufacturing sector, but we also cover transportation and logistics, retail, aviation, healthcare, public safety, and the finance space. And I realize some of them you're more focused on than others, but I think all the ones that I mentioned, you guys definitely have an interest in as well. Okay? So enough on the opportunity. So this time bomb isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's out there, and it's going to force a window of change that's going to provide for opportunities for, I believe, everybody in this room. That being said, and I apologize a little bit for the eye chart part of it, but basically what this slide is showing is the dark purple, that's Android, okay? That's Android adoption, Android statistics, both on a worldwide individual libel business perspective, which is basically a worker in the environment and their individual libel phones, as well as worldwide corporate libel business. Clearly shows that Android is taking on a leadership role, and there's a lot of reasons why, okay? If we talk a little bit about it, there's just to give you a view of Samsung real quickly, we are committed to the enterprise business. We are committed to B2B. We are committed to the Android platform. We have resources that are dedicated at it, 320,000 employees worldwide in 73 countries. Knox, which I'm going to spend a little time talking about, Knox is really the piece that makes it enterprise grade. So it is about security, but it's also about customization. And customization is opportunities for everybody in this room to really develop enterprise-grade solutions that your customers will appreciate, that your customers will value, okay? And the tools that are an integral part of our implementation of Android are key to that. Today, US Android, Samsung enjoys a 47% market share. We've been in Android since day one. As you probably see in the commercial space today, we're releasing version 9 of our phones, okay, as an example. So there's a lot of innovation, a lot of growth in the operating system. Google is at a similar level with the operating system. We have actually collaborated with Google over the years very, very closely to integrate in a lot of the security capabilities to provide the enterprise grade of security that people expect in our industry, okay? As you can see from here, we are now the world leader in US patents. So we're patenting all kinds of things, and a lot of the patents are around mobility, around the security of mobility, around the hardware, as well as the operating system types of capabilities. So there's a huge investment going into it from our standpoint. That's reflected in R&D centers and design centers around the world, including ones in the United States, in Mountain View, California, as an example. A lot of research goes on right in Silicon Valley here. So we may have started in Korea, but we are definitely global today. Okay? This is some validation from Gartner. We've also worked very closely with Gartner in terms of them validating the things that we have done over the years to ensure that we are addressing mobility in a way that's relevant. And you can see in their rating scores, we are positive or better in 5 out of the 6 criteria that they use in terms of our product services or support for accounts, our pricing structure, our technology and methodology, which is very, very important to us, and our strategy and corporate viability, which of course, it's pretty clear that we have the capability to grow and continue to invest. We do a ton of investment into the future, into R&D. We are looking at our mobility platforms and our connectivity platforms not just for today, not just for the next year, but 4, 5, 10 years into the future on where we think things are going to be. Ken mentioned earlier about how automation in manufacturing is a key part. Yes, manufacturing may be reshoring to the U.S. to some degree, particularly with the policy changes of the last couple of years. But it's not coming back with 1950 styles workers with their metal lunchboxes going to plants and working on assembly lines. It's coming back in the form of highly educated people in technology managing highly automated factory environments, robots, making certain that they're not failing, making certain that they stay up and running. This is the future of manufacturing in the US, okay? And I'll get to more of that a little bit later. So this slide's very important because this talks about the specific value propositions that Samsung offers. We have a comprehensive portfolio of products. And yes, it is tablets, phones, and wearable devices, but it's so much more. It's what's under the cover with Knox, the services that we provide. My colleagues in the solutions group that work with partners to develop solutions and bring together industry partnerships that help build out relevant business solutions for all the verticals that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation today. We have a partner ecosystem. We are very partner-centric in that regard of the partners that we work with that are best in breed to offer scanning opportunities, ruggedization opportunities, RFID opportunities, some of these other types of things that we partner to achieve. Okay? We work for productivity. We want to make certain that our products provide the return on investment that people expect, that they're reliable, that they're technologically advanced, that they're future-proofed, and they worked well in industry standard ways to help maintain roadmaps going forward. So the goal is, in partnership with you, we can go collectively to our end user customers and talk about visions for future growth, visions for future change that will migrate from a barcode scanning device to potentially an IoT-based device 3 or 4 years down the road. These are the types of visionary, trusted advisor conversations that we hope to share with you and share with customers, end user customers. All-encompassing ecosystems. If you come by our table, if you haven't already been there, you'll see that we have an ecosystem of partners that we work with to enable our products to function very, very effectively and competitively in the enterprise space. Whether it's barcode scanning sleds, software, communication capabilities, other types of telecommunication capabilities, next generation things like augmented reality, which I'll get into a little bit later, some of the things that we're looking at with that, because it's not just about today, it's about tomorrow. And then finally, best-in-class security through our Knox suite. That's really the crux of where I think the value is, where Samsung leads in the Android space and Samsung differentiates in the Android space, is the whole Knox suite. And it's more than just one thing, it's several things in one. Okay? So let's talk about Knox for a brief second. It's layers of security in the device itself, number one, ranging at a very, very low level up to a very high level at the application level and at points in between. There's things that secure the product that if it's ever hacked, it can actually shut itself down so it doesn't proliferate a problem. If it's rooted at a very low level, as an example, applications are protected. Then we get into the customization side, which is very, very important. Okay? So enterprises, particularly larger ones, want to control their IT. All right? And through Knox customization capabilities, we have the capability to provide tools to do that, ranging from being able to limit only certified applications from running on the device at all. So as Ken mentioned earlier in his comments, some of the mobile devices in the past have been hacked, particularly if they're BYOD. We have the ability to containerize a device where the corporate information and corporate applications actually run in a separate container. That separate container allows the enterprise to keep control of that particular part of it. And even if the user's main part of the phone gets hacked, the corporate data and corporate operations are protected. That's just one example of a Knox feature. Another one is what we call eFOTA, which is the ability of the enterprise to control when updates occur. Not the carrier, not Google, not Samsung, but the enterprise. okay? And the benefit to that is especially for larger enterprises that are writing their own applications, as an example, the ability to make certain that that application is tested against the current level of the operating system before something is pushed and something is broken. That it can all be validated beforehand and then pushed at the convenience and the determination of the enterprise. So ePhoto is just another example of a very important real-world enterprise feature of Knox. So it's all of these things. It's the ability to manage through cloud-based EMM. It's the ability to configure it in a very, very efficient way when it's set up. It's the ability to have the enterprise platform that I mentioned earlier. We actually all use it at Samsung ourselves. Not a surprise that the phone I carry has control of my own IT department in one area, and they can do whatever they want with it. And there's the rest of it that they don't control. Okay? But that can all be determined at an enterprise level. Okay? So a very, very important part of Samsung's implementation of Android, okay? Which, by the way, we've shared a lot of this technology back with Google, and over time, Google has integrated some of it into their basic security, basic environments as well. Not all of it, but some of it, okay? So if we talk about who the believers are, why people care, several US agencies definitely care. Department of Defense, the White House, other types of places, the FBI. They are all users of Knox. They are all users of Android and Samsung products in the work environment. We've gotten accolades from the industry. As I mentioned, Gartner has recognized us previously. It's secure from the start, and for those of you that are really interested in it, we can get into a more deeper dive of how that's done. But it's 5 layers of security within a device. From the minute it's literally on the production line, things are happening to secure that device, all the way through the deployment of applications. And this is what the trusted protection is all about. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about, now that Samsung, we've established that we're serious and committed and relevant to the enterprise space. I'd like to take a little bit of time and talk about the various verticals that we're already in, providing business solutions for. Okay? The main ones that we focus on are the logistics, the trucking, the transportation industry, ELD, logistics, and transportation. Those of you in this business, and I'm sure that there's plenty of you in the room, know that the last couple of the years with these mandates and all, it's been very, very important to get onboard data capabilities in vehicles that are parts of fleets. Okay? We're very, very big into that environment. Moving over to the retail environment, in-store clienteling. I'll get to, again, more detail on all these verticals in a minute, but that's becoming a big area. Customers expect more when they go into a retail environment. The reason they expect more is retailers are very concerned about being Amazoned. Okay? The ability where the consumer no longer even bothers to come out of their home and into the store. So the shopping experience has to be worth the trip. And retailers are, the consumers today are not accepting unknowledgeable retail help any longer. Just look at Sears. Okay, I watched a Sears that I grew up with. I'm in the same neighborhood most of my life. They just tore it down. My mother used to take me to that place. Okay, but you'd walk in there and it was a struggle, as an example. Okay, the bottom line is that all retailers are trying to be competitive and relevant, and the ones that are being successful in that are the ones that are using technology literally on their person to be able to help customers in a very meaningful way. And Samsung is playing a very big role in those types of clienteling, consumer-based applications that empower the retailers and their associates to be highly informative associates in the store environment. Also, in some cases, even processing the transaction right there on the spot. So now you have the whole notion of mobile payments that are interrupted into the environment. Okay? That was my old world. My new world, since May, is the manufacturing environment. And I've been in manufacturing on and off over my career, but that's my current role at Samsung. And as we mentioned, and Ken mentioned early on, right, manufacturing is undergoing a certain renaissance in the United States, but it's doing so in a highly technical, highly sophisticated way. And we aim to play a significant role in making certain that manufacturers have the latest and greatest technologies to maintain their equipment to be able to take advantage of this renaissance and be able to be highly efficient and highly productive in the 21st century. And then finally, field services. Again, when you look at some of the products we have in our product line, our Tab Active 2 is a very, very ruggedized product, can be out in the field. That's just an example of what we're doing to bring technology and pen-based technology to the field worker, out in the field, being able to provide computing at the point of activity, and being able to have it connect real time back to whatever host is serving it. Okay? So with that, I'm going to dive into a little bit more detail on each of the verticals here. Again, just some of the key trends to let you know that myself and my colleagues, one of our main jobs is to make certain that we're constantly immersed in the industries that we've been assigned. So my job every day is to read up on what's going on in manufacturing. My colleagues' job have similar roles in that. So in the trucking industry right now, we mentioned online shopping is a big, big impact on retail, but it also impacts transportation. Why? Because the little white Amazon trucks are speeding through your neighborhood and delivering goods to everybody on their front doorsteps. Okay? Heavily dependent on free trade. As you probably saw in the news, we now have a new NAFTA agreement, and free trade or negotiated trade is going to continue to evolve in a way that transportation between the United States, Canada, and Mexico in particular, which a lot of it's done via truck, is still going to be a very, very important piece of our future and opportunities for this business crowd to take advantage of. Okay? 35 million connected trucks are expected worldwide by 2020. And as you can imagine, a good percentage of those will be in North America and Mexico, okay, running goods around the continent. A focus on safety. With more trucks on the road, you hear discussions about even self-driving trucks on the road. Safety is going to remain a very, very paramount feature. There's going to be technology involved with keeping trucks and the cars that share the roads with them safe, whether they are traditional drivers or non-traditional drivers. Okay? So if we talk a little bit more about the solution map here, some of the products you may be familiar with, but we are big into ELD. Partnerships that we have with you guys, ELD to ELD and beyond. You know, the next level of ELD is coming, and the ability to tie into those types of things, you know, we are on the forefront of it. The Samsung got very heavily involved in the transportation vertical about 4 years ago. We've spent a lot of time in this space and developing products that fit and solution partnerships that fit very well into this environment. Proof of delivery is a big one that's upcoming now. And that ties right back to the retail, online retail, Amazon story that I touched on earlier. Okay? The need to have proof of delivery, especially when you see all these Ring doorbell advertisements of somebody stealing your package off the front. Everybody's getting more concerned about making certain that did that person actually get that package, okay, and confirmation of it. So proof of delivery is really the next big step. And then finally, as we'll touch on it as well, maintenance of trucks, maintenance of vehicles. ELD requires it. Just general good business practice. A down truck is a bad thing. An unsafe truck is a bad thing. So being able to keep up with the maintenance, keeping them safe, keeping their uptime running is all automated opportunities, which asset management and maintenance solutions available on tablets, as an example, are ways that it can be addressed in the marketplace today. So from a transportation perspective, we are very much a part of the scenery at this point. We welcome you to come take a look at some of the things that we have offered. We have the ability with partnerships to mount tablets in a variety of different in-cab scenarios, forklift scenarios, and the like, and communications that go along with that. Okay? Driver engagement. Some trucking companies are allowing tablets to be used for when they rest at night for personal purposes. So that's where Knox and the segmentation of the device comes back into play, where they can have their corporate side and then their personal side. I have a friend who drives for FedEx. He keeps awful hours, and stories he tells me about how he hangs out, sleeping in the truck. But a tablet and being able to connect to things make it a little bit better. They're actually encouraging, in some cases, some trucking companies of actually providing the tablets to the drivers, so they have the ability to have both the necessary ELD requirements, as well as some creature comforts for their own personal use while they're on the road. Okay? As you probably well know, there's a shortage of drivers right now. They can't find enough people, qualified people to drive, so they've got to make the job more attractive, and this can easily become a perk, as an example. Okay? Back office telematics are important. Barcoding scanning capability. We do offer a wide variety of barcode scanning capabilities for our products. A good, better, best strategy ranging from very basic but effective camera scanning solutions all the way up to traditional SLED types of solutions where we can do 1D, 2D. We can do barcode scanning as close as 6 inches out, as far away as 50 feet away with the same device. Okay? So we'd love to share that information with you more because I know AIDC is a big part of what barcoding does, hence the name. So, okay. And then just being able to make certain that the data that's captured on all these different mobile devices is reported and effectively communicated back to whatever host system is utilizing it. Okay? So if we move into retail, I already touched on a little bit of it, but everybody knows the retail back end, the inventory side, it's a barcode scanning activity. It's tracking inventory in, it's tracking inventory to the sales floor. And then at the front end of the store, it's tracking inventory out through the point of sale systems. Again, barcode technology is a big part of what's happening. The big focus is what's happening in the middle part of the store. How do I know that a display has the right set of products on it? How do I know that I'm reaching out to the right clientele, that what I'm displaying in the store actually matches what people in my neighborhood want to have? So there's a big focus here on the clienteling piece, on the data, the traditionally data dark part of the center of the store, how that can be enlightened so people, retailers in particular, get a better understanding of what's attractive to display and show and what's not attractive to display and show. Sales figures will show some of it. In other cases, it's more observation of people's interests, and there's all kinds of technologies that do that kind of stuff now. But we are in the middle of really trying to provide additional value to retailers and become their trusted advisor with respect to how they can survive into the future. How can they not be, quote, Amazon, as my colleague likes to say. So there's a big push on that. So how do you do that? How do you make certain that supply chains are maintained and are effective and there's not out of stock situations, because that really alienates consumers when they make the trip to the store. They think they're going to walk home with what they thought they were going to get, and they don't. Okay, so how to eliminate that problem. And by collecting data and analyzing data, how is it protected? If a retailer is actually studying me in the store while I'm looking at the shelves, I don't necessarily want my personality or whatever captured and retained for any length of time. So there's a balance there that's being covered where consumer privacy is protected, but faceless consumer trends are understood. Okay, so that's the fine balance that we're trying to work through with that. Okay. Here, just this is a shopping journey. Probably not a surprise to anybody in the room here. But first of all, how to use technology to bring people into the store. Video walls, and that's another part of our division that does that type of thing. And then targeted marketing messages that, assuming you've opted in, the retailer wants to talk to you through your phone. But again, assuming that you've opted in. All right, technology's there. Captivating customers through kiosks. So interactive kiosks in the store. We have situations where you have a large video wall, video display. Tell me more information about this. There's an interactive kiosk nearby. You can engage that and then learn more about the products. Things that we call lift and learn, where you actually pick up a shoe off a shelf and the display will literally change to that shoe. So you get more details on that as an example. Okay? This works very well, obviously, in fashion retail. Interactive grocery store items are coming into play as well. If you want to get more detailed nutritional information about a particular grocery product that you're purchasing, again, there's interactive capabilities there. A lot of it is done with tablet deployments, to be honest. And that's where we're focused as well. You may have seen them in some of the airports. Where you can order your meal through an entire kiosk operation and those types of things. Again, restaurants are turning to those. And then finally, at the end of the day, checkout, whether it's mobile checkout whether the store associate comes up to you, a more traditional checkout where you walk up to a cash wrap, or even checking out on your own phone because you already have an account with the retailer that you're dealing with, saving you the need to queue up in a line, as an example. Okay? And then here, my new industry. Very, very exciting space, very, very dynamic space right now with all the changes going on, okay? But more automation, less labor, as Ken mentioned at the introduction point today. Very, very true. It's about maintenance of automation and how to keep that automation up and running, how to keep it efficient, how to keep it high quality levels in place, and how to ensure that the productivity of the factory is world-class competition, because that's what the United States is facing today. Anybody that's manufacturing here understands that, and it's a key driver in their success. And I think the folks in the room here, Barcoding Inc. and ourselves, we have lots of opportunities with the solutions that we have to do just that. More services required. In the case of manufacturing, again, there's a lot of need for laying out new factory floor space, as an example. Models and products are changing at a much more rapid rate, which means that retooling happens at a much more rapid rate, which means the capital expenditure that a manufacturer goes through to retool for newer products is happening at a more rapid rate than previously done. So those things are weighing into how manufacturers think about, well, should I lay out this factory line in a virtual reality environment first before I even do it? Today, they do it actually with cardboard models of things and they walk people through it. It's still a huge expense and a huge consumer of space. To do it in a virtual reality type of environment obviously would allow for more efficient trial and error opportunities before they decide on a final design and implement it, okay? Manufacturing globalization. Even though manufacturing is still coming back to the United States, there's still supply chains that typically reach offshore. Then they still will reach towards Canada, Mexico, and potentially even other places. So managing an infrastructure that will remain global is going to be a key important aspect for manufacturers as well, okay? So standardization of EID and of EDI and other types of communications to make certain that supply chains are properly fed is going to be a key important part of where this goes. In our view of manufacturing, there's really three core areas in a typical manufacturing environment. The first one is, and the last one, are actually inventory management, warehousing types of activities. So whether it's the supply warehouse that houses the components that feed the assembly line, or it's the finished goods area that handles all the finished good products and prepares them for shipping. Those two areas are very much leverageable to other transportation and logistics and warehousing types of operations. In a manufacturing environment, what changes is what goes on the assembly floor. This is where the robots are. This is where the assembly occurs. This is where it's different. This is also where there's a lot of really rich opportunities right now in terms of maintenance of those robots, preventative maintenance, preemptive maintenance, where you're collecting data and you can foresee that something is going to go wrong soon and prevent it from happening so you maintain the efficiency and the uptime of the manufacturing line. Okay, that's part of it. The other thing that I think is really, really important is there's still a lot of number 2 pencils, clipboards, and paper on assembly floors today. And we have a really great solution to talk about because a lot of our products have what we call S Pen, and this allows for the ability to maintain the ergonomic that everybody's familiar with. I take something that's like a stick and I write on something that's flat, and I can see the form that's the same, but it's all electronic. It's all digitized, it's all captured, it all goes into the infrastructure of the system, and it really, really modernizes that whole environment while taking the technological stress away from a transitioning worker to get there, okay? The other thing that we're looking at is in today's factory space, more and more of our products come with something called DEX, which is a really cool solution that basically takes mostly today phones, but moving into some of the tablet space as well, and allowing that phone screen to basically turn into a full computer screen when attached to a display, a keyboard, and a mouse. So what's good about that? Imagine, if you will, you're a factory supervisor or manager, You have a nice office up in the rafters, and if you're lucky, it has an air conditioning unit in the wall and that type of thing. And you have a computer there. Maybe it's a tower. Maybe it's something that's been around for a while. All right? But I still need to manage what's going on down on the floor. And what's going on down at the floor is a lot of work and a lot of innovation and a lot of modernization, but the action is down on the floor. So if I need to check a schematic as a supervisor, and I say, well, wait a minute, guys, I got to walk upstairs. I'll be back in 10 minutes after I figure it out. We want to move to a discussion where we have basically this DEX capability at strategic locations throughout the factory floor. Whereas a supervisor, I literally can take my phone and walk up to a workstation and plug it in and be able to either pull up a Windows-like environment that DEX provides, or maybe even connect with a VDI to a true Windows environment. And say we're trying to troubleshoot something that's going on with a robot. I now can do that right there on the spot with my colleagues on the floor to figure out why this particular robot is not behaving correctly, opening it up, maybe even potentially doing an AR type of scenario where I'm overlaying a photograph of how the internal workings and gears and everything are supposed to look, and pointing it at my device that's broken. And the technology through AR does the ability to do some of the diagnosis. Says, hey, you know what? Those three screws are missing, or the sprockets are missing some teeth, or something like that. And the technology calls it out immediately rather than the human eye having to look for the differences later. So these are some of the more futuristic things that we're looking at doing in the manufacturing space, utilizing technology that's either there today or coming in the Samsung product line in manufacturing. Oops. Okay. Manufacturing also allows for a large opportunity for strategic working together over a long period of time. In all the verticals that I've mentioned today, the vision that we have is to become the strategic trusted advisor with you guys and with the end user customers. So we can talk about not just about this year and what you're going to buy this year, but what is your roadmap to the next generation of solutions? What are the industry trends, regardless of the vertical I mentioned today? But myself and my colleagues can talk about those trends. What are things looking like 2, 3, 4, 5 years out? And how we can work together with our customers to plan a roadmap to get there and deploy solutions that make sense for them and provide business for us. Okay? So this is just bringing light to stores. This was actually, I think, one that was supposed to be back in the retail section. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I think, so we're building out here a retail section. This was manufacturing. This was the slide I was supposed to have here. But this is visualizing what I've been talking about. These are the robots of today. This is the control room of tomorrow. That's a Boeing plane of today that's being built using a lot of modern technologies today, right here in the United States. Okay. These are some of the partners that we work with, and we're always open to working with more. But we are building out, we've identified 3 core areas of use cases where we want to be. Electronic asset management, managing preventative maintenance, those things we talked about of all this robotic gear. Scanning and RFID technologies, which remain very, very important in the manufacturing space. And we have a portfolio and suite of solutions and products that allow that to happen. And then connectivity with the ERP and warehouse management system space, which is also critical to what we're trying to do. Because obviously at the end of the day, you can have the great mobile products, great mobile clients, but if they're not communicating to the host ERP systems, the data that's captured, that's kind of a problem. So we understand the full ecosystem. We're deploying relationships with all the people that you see up here, and certainly welcome the opportunity to engage on projects that would expand that further. Okay? That's all I officially had. I hope it was useful time for you folks. Certainly you can follow up with me or my Samsung colleagues over there at the table there. Earl and James, if you want to stand up and wave. And we look forward to working with you all with various projects that you have. Thank you for your time today.